happen. Most of you today are politely demonstrating, and I support you doing that. But please do not interfere with speech. Please do not engage in property destruction. Please do not engage in the rights, prevent them from speaking. God bless you all. Bless you all out there in the audience. I wish peace upon you. You may be giving me the finger, but I really do wish you peace. And I wish you love. God bless you all. Bless everybody up here.
Is what defines us. What defines us as Americans. What defines us as a sovereign citizen. What defines us as a free people. And who gets to determine those answers except those same free and sovereign American people. Only they get to decide for themselves. Because this is what a constitutional republic is. Unlike what you hear all the time throughout the news and from them, the United States is not a democracy. The United States never was a democracy. It is never intended to be a democracy. The United States, as our founders have founded this country, is a constitutional republic. Freedom of speech is not about what you wish never to hear and then make silent, but to defend the right of everyone to speak those words you find most abhorrent, to ask questions that anger their opposition, and to ask questions about authority rule, and to speak openly with different opinions, to actively engage in a long-honored tradition of debate and exchange, to foster amity and compromise, further the human condition and advance society into a better future for all Americans, black, white, Latino, gay, lesbian, I don't care if you even come from somewhere out there in space. We are now living in the modern America that once was the era of the 1930s. Opposition speaking out, defending republic and rule of law. That is us here at the bandstand. Mobs swarming to attack them and silence freedom of speech. Many of those mobs sanctioned by the leftist local government here in Boston, advertised by the leftist-controlled media, just as Boston did last August. Ms. Marty Walsh, do you reject our message today? The false premise of hatred and bigotry perpetrated by Mayor Marty Walsh about young Americans standing up for their future and the failure to retract his comments caused tens of thousands of people to threaten, riot, and commit acts of violence against anyone who crossed their path. The true bigotry and hatred existed out there, not in here. Politicians who placate these groups are as guilty of destroying our constitutional freedoms as Antifa is. The delay and subsequent denial of the permit is just a simple bureaucratic runaround, but it is commonly used as a weapon to deny citizens their constitutional right to peaceably assemble. I noticed when we came in here, there were other groups getting together with their signs and their placards. Did they pull a permit? Were they required to pull a permit? I think the answer, we know what that answer is. Then why let citizens request permission to speak anyway? Where does it say in the Constitution you must pull a permit to peacefully assemble? Doesn't say that anywhere. Why do we have, this is common ground right here. This park was put here over 200 years ago for the people to gather and peaceably assemble. Why must we request a permit? But yet violent groups, we think they pull the permit. Yeah, here we are today, folks. But unlike the ghetto uprising in Poland, we won't wait until the socialists and the nationalists, which are out there, not in here, round us up and ship us off. I will not stand here now and just simply not defend and stand down, fight a little here and there, shrink back in defeat. Folks, I won't even stand behind you, and I won't stand beside you. No, I will stand in front of you, and I will take that first shot. We will stand in offense to that phalanx of opposition out there. Promote this great republic and carry that message beyond our posterity. And as Thomas Jefferson wrote, the last sentence in the Declaration of Independence, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. God bless you, God bless our Constitution, and may God bless these, the United States of America.
Hey guys, my name is Ludwig Hagen. I'm a U.S. Army infantry combat veteran, did a tour in Afghanistan. I'm just kind of freeballing this here because I got involved and I really like what's going on. I got involved in this last minute, but I absolutely love it because I see a bunch of people that I don't even fully agree with, like Trump supporters and stuff like that. I only support some of Trump. I think he is, a little crazy when he's bigly and stuff like that. But we come out here and we see Bernie Sanders supporters, some socialists, volunteerism, man, I love that sweater. We have libertarians, Republicans, and the idea is we need to come together at the table and agree on free speech, the Constitution, and liberty, and us coming together. We should have an Antifa guy up here speaking, just as we had a Sanders supporter. We disagree with Antifa, but they should come up here and have their say. Everyone should have their say at the table, whether we agree or not. That is the American way. But at the end of the day, we want to say that we're pro-First Amendment. Everyone should have the right to speak and say what they want to say. We're pro-Second Amendment. You have the right to bear arms. Nothing should restrict that unless you have mental illness. Other than that, there shouldn't be a restriction on your rights. It is your right to defend yourself. And then we are pro the Constitution. They're slowly chipping away at the Constitution, and they're slowly chipping away at free speech. It's un-American. And lastly, we want to address the fact that we're trying to label these groups as fascist, Nazi, racist. It is absolutely ridiculous. I was in the Army for 4 years, and everyone in the Army is green. I come out here, and that's the way everyone is. I have not seen one person say anything about white supremacy or pro-fascism. Fascism is counter to what we're for. We're for the Constitution. Fascism is literally against the Constitution. It does not jive. And racism is antiquated, it's un-American, it doesn't belong here anymore. We need to come together for the Constitution and liberty and be Americans at the table. God bless you guys, God bless America. Thank you for coming out. Thank you.
All right, our next patriot coming to the stage, a gentleman named Tiny.
What's up, Patriots? Come on, this ain't a funeral, this is a party. Like Joe Gibson always say, freedom is sexy. Alright. I'm not here to speak to the Patriots. That means I'm just speaking to the choir. But I want to say thank you to Antifa for coming out. I feel honored. I feel special for coming out and listening to me speaking. And if you're not racist, listen to the brown guy that's speaking right now. If you're a racist, start yelling and start calling me Uncle Tom. But listen up, I came here from Washington State. My name is Tusitala Joshua Fallen Tunilingitoisi. Go try and dox that. I'm from the island of American Samoa. I'm 21 years old, and I got a message for you. You guys are the so-called anti-fascists. You ain't. You are anti-First Amendment. You are anti-fucking American. That's what you are. The real anti-fascists are standing here. We don't stand with white supremacists. We don't stand with neo-Nazi. But I'm going to tell you this. Any of you white people come up to me and say you're guilty of being white, you're dumb as hell. Be proud of being white. Be proud of being brown. Be proud of being black. Whatever color you are. You didn't have a choice. If I had a choice, I'll tell God, create me and make me purple. Then you guys can fight about racism. We need to stand up, we need to unite as a country. If we want to make America great again, we got to come together. We the people have more power than the people that's in power. Why do we have more power? If we stand together as one. But what you guys are doing, you guys want to come out here and shut people down, that's a fascist ideology.
That's right.
Grow the hell up.
Speak the truth.
We ain't going to back down. You guys want to come out here and try to shut us down? We're going to have to come out every single day.
Over and over.
If it takes 5,000 rallies, we're still going to be out here. You've been doing this for the longest time. The only reason why we're out here is because we're pissed off and we ain't going to see this country burn to the ground. And I'm going to tell you something. Your little civil war on November 4th, I flew from Washington all the way here. I no civil war. Why? Because y'all stupid as hell. Grow the hell up. We're gonna keep on standing. We're gonna keep on standing, and we're never gonna give up. We're never gonna give up. Why? Because I'd rather die on my feet than living on my knees.
Hell yeah.
And real American will understand what I'm saying.
I know the risks and sacrifices being made to protect our Constitution. I have traveled many miles across this nation, as many of us here today have. And I can tell you, what we do does not come without many consequences. Speaking the truth usually does. The First Amendment preserves the right for all citizens to have the right to freedom of speech. And although there are times I may not agree with the topic of speech, I still protect and uphold your right to do so. I, as a constitutionalist, stand by that. We are all aware of the misconceptions and labeling put upon us by the media and the extreme left. But I know this, in my own thoughts and actions, I choose to live and stay true to the course. Despite the hate and the bigotry, you can decide to take part in that destruction, or you can rise above it. Violence, racist, and bigotry does not solve anything, and only proves that we as a nation are broken. We have to begin to listen to each other. Listen to each other. We have to stop looking with our eyes and our minds closed. When you allow yourself to listen, you may find that we really are not that different. I, Tammy Lee, am free. I love my country through all of its glory and all of its not so glory. Get it? I'm almost done. My paper's stuck, forgive me. I will never allow the government's agenda to instill racism or fear in me because I have seen and felt all the good from all walks of life. Throughout our history, men and women of all color have fought and died, protecting the freedoms that we all have. I cannot help but wonder how many of those soldiers felt or feel as they see us use our rights against each other. We have a right and a way to choose to exercise our freedom of speech as we see fit. And remember, we all represent a nation. As a constitutionalist, as a preservationist of freedom, and as an American citizen, I will never waver from my mission to ensure that all rights and freedoms are known, practiced, and given to all.
All right, let's hear it for Tammy. Our next speaker coming to the same stage is Samson Rachapi. He has been an activist for various causes since his early teenage years, attending his first Freedom Rally, aka Hempfest, right here on the Common in 1994 as a 13-year-old. Professionally, Samson has had an eclectic career from working in restaurants, performing IT service and repair, as well as serving the military. Sam says he tries to treat life more like an adventure as opposed to just a series of chores that need to be done. Sam currently attends Suffolk University studying politics, philosophy, and economics, and aspires to serve in Congress one day. Sam, thanks for coming up.
Thank you. Whoa. Thank you for having me. So here we are again, gathering on the Common a few months after the last time. This time around it's a little bit chillier. There's a lot less of us hanging out. There's not 40,000 rabid people looking for blood today, and I appreciate that. First, I'd like to say thank you all for joining us today. It's clear to anyone paying attention to the state of speech that it's threatened in the United States. And let's admit it, whether you're with us or out there protesting us, everyone here supports free speech. Another special thanks to the speakers, some of who traveled all the way from the West Coast to join us today and to talk to us just about speech. They came all the way here from the opposite side of the country just to use their words, and we're very, very thankful for it. Florida, Oregon, California, all over the country is being represented here in Boston. I know it sounds cliche, but I want to make something clear. The people here on stage, the people who have gone through the security checkpoints, we're not afraid to show our faces here today. We're not ashamed to use our voices to advocate for the oppressed. If we're not afraid to show our faces, then any actual Nazis here today should also not be afraid to show their faces. So I issue a challenge to anybody here who identifies with Nazi ideology. Speak up. Let yourself be known. Identify yourself. Don't be a coward. Raise your hand and let it be known that you're a Nazi. All these protesters came here to denounce this. If you're here today, give them something to see, because they definitely are looking for a show, and we're not them. And barring seeing any Nazis, I don't see anybody identifying as such. I might have seen one guy kidding, but that's about it. How about the white supremacists? I mean, my head is shaved. I might be conflated with one at times just because of my choice of hairdo. But are there any actual white supremacists here?
Nope.
If you think you're better than anyone else just because of the color of your skin or your belief system, let me tell you something, you're not.
You're worse.
Yeah, you're worse. You're the opposite of what you think you are if you think you're better than somebody else because of your skin color. Speak up. Be proud of your stupid beliefs. They're stupid, but the only way that you're going to change your mind is by talking with reasonable people like us here today. And that's why we're here. No white supremacists. No surprise. Speaking of cowardly white supremacists and other cowardly groups, how about Antifa? Shout out to North Shore Antifa, who thought that they could intimidate us by publishing our identities online. Such a fail. We're all still here. We're not going away. Personally, I'm not ashamed to be here today with these fine patriots. In fact, I'm proud. I'm proud to be on the correct side of history. I've seen a bunch of masks already today in the crowd. I bet they're Antifa. Big surprise. Why do you need to wear a mask if you're so righteous? If you're here to protest peacefully, why do you need to cover your face? I heard that masked dirtbags threw bottles of piss at Boston police back in August. I seen videos of it. Peaceful citizens were harassed and assaulted. Rights were violated by masked rioters and by city authorities. Why? Because we've been lied to. You've been lied to. Everybody here has been lied to. These lies get repeated by the press, and then people get physically harmed because of it. Sometimes people die, like the tragedies we've seen all across the world, including Charlottesville. And I mean, the Pulse nightclub, I mean, it's all hatred. Anytime people engage in violence, it's because of hatred. And it's usually because they have information that's untrue. So, Antifa, I appeal to you. Take off your masks and try talking to us for once. I promise we're friendly, we won't bite. Don't be intimidated by my bald head. It's because I'm balding that I shave my head, not because of any other reason. I personally attend college right here in Boston, and I'm happy to talk with every single one of you if we need to in order to have positive dialogue. We're right here in the heart of Boston, pretty much the birthplace of this country. So much history has happened right underneath our feet. And believe it or not, you're a part of history by being here today. This movement's just getting started. August was the free speech shot heard around the world, and this is a rally for the Republic. Heed its call. Judging from the negative media coverage, the constant hatred, pardon me, I'm stuttering, it's a little chilly. As I was. Judging from the negative media coverage, the constant hatred coming from protest groups, the never-ending barrage of political corruption, we have a need to protect speech. Once again, Boston will step up and we won't stand down. We have an incredible lineup of speakers. I'm still impressed by everybody who's joining us today. We don't all agree on things. In fact, we all identify from all over the political spectrum. One organizer is an open socialist. We had Ronaldo de Gallo, a Bernie Sanders supporter. We have a pro-Trump, build-the-wall kind of guy. And me, I'm a libertarian who believes in minimal government and things like consuming cannabis shouldn't be criminalized. Crazy, I know. Clearly, we don't agree on everything, but we all agree on this. The importance of speech, our fundamental right to ask questions and to demand answers. It cannot be lost. For anyone to advocate for that which is righteous, we must protect the rights of those who advocate for otherwise. Patriots willing to shed blood, sweat, and tears just to demonstrate how important speech is. They are not Nazis. I'm almost done, I swear. I'm real wordy. I can't help it.
Get it done, man. Take your time.
I just read a first-hand account of Primo Levi, a Jewish survivor of Auschwitz. The absolute horror that people went through. Absolutely innocent people. So many suffered at the hands of Nazis. These Nazis utterly destroyed so many lives and forever changed how the world views evil. This Jewish Holocaust survivor talked about when he first arrived at Auschwitz. Nazis would direct Jews from the trains to either the gas chambers on one side or to the work camps on the other, and it depended on physical stature, age, gender, etc. Towards the end, they gave up on this. When the trains would pull up into Auschwitz, they would just open the doors, and whatever way the people went when they got off the trains determined their fate. It's amazing. The horror cannot be fathomed what these people went through. No matter how many books I read or how many documentaries I see, I'm never going to be able to understand it. When you come out here and you call freedom-loving patriots Nazis just for asserting their right to speech, for defending your right to speech, you demean the memory of everyone who died in those concentration camps. You demean the memory of everyone who died cold and alone in bombed-out cities. And you demean everyone who swore an oath to our Constitution and all the sacrifices made in the process. Please, I implore you, do some reflection on your positions. No matter if you're, quote, with us or, quote, against us. Hear what the speakers here have to say today and judge them accordingly. At the conclusion of this rally, go home peacefully and don't attempt to harm or obstruct anyone else in the process. My time is up. I could go on and on all day long, but there's no need. You'll get it. Someday soon, likely in the spring, we're going to be here again doing our thing. And I hope you join us in the spring when it's a little warmer. And don't forget why we're here today, to protect speech. In case you forgot, my name is Samson Rachapi. I genuinely thank you all for coming out today. And please feel free to be in touch. Thank you. Mic drop.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Mark.
Awesome, everyone. I am Mark. I am the lead organizer for this. I was working with Kyle Chapman for Resist Marxism, and we are back in Boston. Today, I want to welcome you to the Rally for the Republic. Free speech is alive in Boston.
officials are responsible for encouraging the violence that occurred that day. We are all familiar with what the mayor said about us. It was slanderous lies.
That's right. That's the truth.
Today we will demonstrate that the lies of Mayor Marty Walsh and the violence of those mobs will not silence free speech in Boston.
Yeah, right.
Mayor Walsh, we call upon you to apologize for slandering your fellow Americans. In August, you claimed that hate groups were coming to Boston, but it was nothing but a bald-faced lie.
Right.
Whether out of willful ignorance or to further your own political ambitions, your lies have caused innocent harm to innocent Americans in both their personal and professional lives. Your deplorable actions brought violence to the city you are supposed to represent. Mayor Walsh and the fascist mobs who threaten free speech rights should be ashamed. You will not stop us, and freedom of speech will prevail.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for showing up today. I'm pleased to be here with you and to have a voice to speak for the American people. Hopefully I can represent you all for these few minutes that I do speak. I stand before you today as a free American patriot, as a voice of reason in a time dominated by the unreasonable. I'm not here just to represent myself, but rather to share knowledge, wisdom, and to speak truth on behalf of we the people of these United States of America. So please, I implore you, whoever has an ear to hear, let him hear. For far too long, we on the right have been deliberately mislabeled by the likes of the mainstream media, liberals, communists, socialists, Muslims, domestic terrorist groups like Black Lives Matter and Antifa, and by deep state government operatives at the local, state, and federal level. Like clockwork, you hear unwarranted outrage from affiliates of those groups in this crowd, as if what I'm saying isn't true. Similar to undisciplined children, they throw temper tantrums, scream at the sky in a demonic fit of rage, and repeatedly yell words like hate and shame. They typically follow that up by throwing around labels like fascists, Nazis, racist, and bigots until enough people either get sick of it and give in to their demands or get completely brainwashed and join them. Democrat Mayor Marty Walsh himself, as one of my friends up here mentioned already, inaccurately said things like, we will not welcome what he described as hate groups in Boston. Obviously, we're not hate groups. He's just drinking the Kool-Aid. Since when are groups that are standing for their freedom hate groups? Since when are mass criminals who assault people exercising their freedoms and who attack cops who are just doing their jobs, since when are those people considered to be the people that our government should stand with? It's insanity. That warped view of who we on the right are explains why Mayor Marty Walsh, coupled with the Boston Parks and Recreation Department, would unnecessarily and unconstitutionally deny us permits. Therefore, we had gone ahead with planning our event assuming we would just be approved for the permits because we had applied, and when we applied, there was nothing on the schedule saying that this day was taken. And yet suddenly they booked it up for an event that was in the morning and told us all that we wouldn't be able to have our event and that it would be, getting in the way of the other morning event that would be ended around noontime, which was right at the time we would start our event. No matter how you look at it, guys, there's some unconstitutional bidding here by our own government. But that's par for the course from the left. We see that every day, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. And you can see all the different scandals and such that are out there from the left and the right these days. There's too much corruption, and it has to stop. Now, they'll twist the story and tell a different tale, of course. They'll tell a story to the liberal mainstream media, and the media will be surely happy to push that story for them. One that indicates that we were rejected permits because of the, just the rally and they were just doing stuff constitutionally. But that's not exactly what's happening. So, Marty Walsh, your role as the mayor, as the head of the city, is to officially speak for both the government and the community as a whole. So I ask you this, why are you misspeaking? Why do you pretend that you speak for the entire city of Boston
when what you are saying isn't even based on truth. I recommend that in the future you educate yourself more before making an official statement on behalf of the government and the community. Every time I speak, there seems to be a helicopter that comes over my head. This happened in Washington, D.C. too, when I spoke at the mother of all rallies. I don't know, maybe I should be offended, or maybe I should just smile about it. Maybe that means I'm saying something right, huh? Or maybe it's just coincidence. In reality, guys, fascism and Nazism have always been on the left. The founder of fascism, Benito Mussolini, the leader of the National Fascist Party, was a Marxist. Hitler was head of a party that was called the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Okay? So think about that for a second. Fascism is the ideology of the centralized state, and the right wing doesn't stand for centralized government. We stand for limited government and individual rights. So how in the world would we be called fascists and Nazis when we're not Marxists and we don't stand for anything that fascists stand for, and when it was all something that came from the left to begin with? It was also recognized to be, and this is talking about fascism, to be by so many American progressives, including FDR, a Democrat, and the progressive icon, who was a big fan of Mussolini. So the Democrats recognized fascism. They liked fascism. FDR, he actually sent members of his brain trust to fascist Italy. He regarded fascism as more progressive than the New Deal. He wanted to bring fascist ideas to America. Mussolini, for his part, was a big fan of FDR. This is the actual history of fascism. And yet, in a weird twist, the left now is trying to construct a narrative in which the fascists are now somehow right-wing, but that's part of the big lie. The big lie is the idea that fascism and Nazism are on the right. They're not. Antifa is infested with self-proclaimed modern-day socialists and Marxists, and yet they stand here in our public common areas with signs saying they're socialists, flipping out, calling us the fascists and the Nazis. Think about that. Just think about that. If you really stand against Nazism and fascism and racism, you're on the wrong side over there, because we're the side that stands against those things. It's us. You've been brainwashed, and you chant Nazi scum off our streets. We're not Nazis. And if you're chanting you don't like Nazis, then you're probably not really Nazis either. But then you shouldn't affiliate with socialism, Marxism, and real fascists. Antifa, which stands for anti-fascist, is a group that literally is standing against itself. They don't even realize it. It's pure ignorance, and it's really quite embarrassing for you guys. The truth is that the left's history is blemished with racism and terrorism. We already spoke to the socialist, Marxist, fascist roots of the left. But did you know that the Democrats were the party of slavery, black codes, Jim Crow, and that miserable terrorist monstrosity, the Ku Klux Klan? In 1924, there were multiple disputes at the Democratic National Convention, one of which revolved around an attempt by non-Klan delegates led by Forney Johnston of Alabama to condemn the organization, the KKK, for its violence in the Democratic Party's platform. You hear that? The Democratic Party's platform. Klan delegates defeated the platform plank in a series of floor debates. So since the KKK won, to celebrate, tens of thousands of hooded Klansmen from the Democrat side rallied in the field in New Jersey across the river from New York City. It's called the Klan Bake, guys. That's what it's called. So you guys all vote Democrat, Socialist, Marxist, and then you claim that we're all these things that we're not. I'm sorry, I'm taking up a little bit of time here. I'm trying to finish up. On the other hand, Republicans were the party of Lincoln, Reconstruction, anti-lynching laws, and the Civil Rights Act of 1875, 1957, 1960, and 1964. Were all Republicans models of integrity on racial matters? No, hardly. Were they a heck of a lot better than the Democrats? Without question. Truthfully, the Democrats, Socialists, Communists, Marxists, and Fascists on the left have been slavishly rewriting history for decades. They don't want you to know their true history because then all that anger and all that hatred would be directed in their direction. And they will lose even more votes than they did when President Donald J. Trump won big league in 2016's election.
Big league.
Organizations like Black Lives Matter are teaching black youth that it's okay to hate white people. It has gotten so bad that in some inner cities, black people are even just running around beating random white people, even women, while crowds of other black people laugh and film them. Let's be clear here. Racism can come from any race and can be against any other race. This white guilt nonsense has to end. So why in the world would I feel guilty about something I never did? I didn't enslave anybody. My father didn't enslave anybody. My grandfather didn't enslave anybody. My grandfather fought in World War II and the Korean War against the Nazis. Even had his ship sunk. The Susan B. Anthony. Look it up on YouTube. The only ship that had all of the people survive, and a ship that was sunk in World War II. So as I stand here before you, I have to stand up to you and tell you I'm not a racist, I'm not a Nazi. Who are you? Who are you? You don't even have the facts. You don't even stand on truth. Stop thinking that your lies are more important than the facts. I had a bunch more to say. I'm going to try to finish up so other people can speak, but let me finish here with a couple things. The United States of America experienced great victories in the days of World War II, as I was just speaking about. We fought and defeated Nazism, which was Hitler's Germany, and fascism, Mussolini's Italy. Defeating enemies such as these is what the right has always been about. And we're going to continue to defeat them. That's what America does. We stand against the bad. We stand for the good. And if somebody in our government does something wrong, we're sure to tell them about it too. All enemies, foreign and domestic, we stand against. When we talk about making America great again, we're calling for a restoration of those victorious times. That's why President Trump talks about the U.S. winning and winning big league all the time. We have to start winning again, right? How is it fair that everyone loves their country, screws over our country, and comes here illegally even, sucks us dry, and then we're wrong for wanting to fix that and make America great again? How does that make sense? So I'm here to tell you this, guys. I'm going to close out with this. The message I speak, even though it sounds angry, it might sound hateful, people might say it's negative. It's not one of hate. It's not one of negativity. It's one of positivity. It's a message to make a difference in the world, okay? Well, these people sit here and scream things that don't make any sense, try to hit people with sticks and flip out and stop the opposition, which is what fascists do, because that's what they are, okay? Part of the course, but as they do that, we're standing here for law. I don't agree with half these people up here, but I agree with the other half, and I know they have the right to freedom of speech. Excuse me. So the point is, okay, that we're about love. We're not about hate, and that sounds cliche, but that's what we are. We're here to speak the truth. We're here to have our voices heard, and that's what this is about. We stand against Marxism. We stand for free speech, and people need to wake up to that.
They have nothing. They don't know what to do. They're running around crazy. They can't use violence because the media and the left get on them. They can't do it anymore. They have nothing. And that's why I'm so happy to be out here today. And then a little bit later, we're going to go out there. We're going to talk to some of them. But guys, this is the thing. This is what it's all about. You have to continue to keep coming out. You got to keep coming out. This is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. We have to understand that every single time you bring these people out, you expose hypocrisy. You expose the lies, the deception. You expose the craziness, the brainwashing. I don't know if you guys have ever had a conversation with one of these guys. Anybody here have a conversation with these guys? They cannot finish a sentence. You ask them a question and they don't have an answer. They just roll their eyes and say, I'm not going to waste my time on you because you don't have an answer, because you don't know what you're talking about. And it is important to continue to do that. You continue to go out there and you get it on film, because what we have to understand, guys, this isn't America out there. You understand that? Normal America is sitting at home watching, and every single time you bring them out, they're like, those guys are so freaking crazy. And in me, when I think about my son, okay, when I think about who I want him to look up to, I want my son to look up to the 20 people who were here in Boston Common with 40,000 people everywhere. Well, they seriously want to kill you guys.
My son, I point out, I said, son, those are some real men, some real women, and some real Americans. It only takes one person to stand up for free speech. It only takes one person. And I don't care. I will stand with anybody. If you're by yourself, I will stand with you. Patriot Prayer will stand with you. We will go in some of the darkest areas, all up and down, the East Coast, the West Coast, in between. It doesn't matter. And we will continue to stand up for what we believe in. I'm going to finish up with this. Guys, understand this. You guys are an inspiration for people who are sitting at home. You guys are an inspiration because there are so many people who are they're a little bit afraid, okay? Hey, when you inspire people to come out, that's what it's all about. You wake up someone's heart. You wake up someone's soul. Do you understand? For so long, all I did was just go through the day, without doing anything for this country, okay? And all it takes, I remember there's one person that specifically motivated me and changed my life forever. And now, I'm living the dream right now, guys, with you guys. We get to go around, how beautiful is it that we get to go around, expose the hatred from the alt-left, and at the same time promote freedom, promote love, and the best thing of all, the thing that I love to do more than anything, is I love to say, God, thank you. Thank you for this country. Thank you, baby, for the freedom, for the right that we can say and do whatever we want. Whatever we want. You have to understand that this is unique what we have in this country. And yes, we have slowly been losing it. We have slowly been losing it over time. But the country is starting to wake up because of guys like you. Because of you people. Listen, when you bring out 40,000 people and they don't even know what they're protesting, that wakes up the country. Because they're like, they understand that there's some major brainwashing going on from the top down. The elites, the establishment, they're using brainwashing because they want to distract them from the real issues. They don't want them to think about freedom. They don't want them to think about, they want them to think about your skin color, your gender, your sexuality. So that way you don't focus on one of the most important things. What is on the inside? What's in your heart? The one thing that you can change. Okay? Hey, I'm going to finish up in a prayer real quick, but guys, I just want to say it is an absolute honor to be here from the West Coast to stand here with you guys. Okay?
Thank you.
God, I just thank you for having this opportunity, this right, this privilege to be here in Boston. To be in Boston, Massachusetts, on the East Coast.
Yes!
I am so thankful to be here because this is where it all started. This is where the freedom started. This is where we destroyed the tyrants of the Redcoats. And God, I ask that you help give us the strength, the inspiration, the motivation to preach your word, to preach freedom, and to continue going around on the East Coast and the West Coast to promote some of the most beautiful things in the world, including you, Jesus Christ. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much for coming all the way out.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much.
All right. Everybody, thank you very much for coming out today and supporting free speech. Woo! We have one final speaker who we're going to listen to, and then we're going to take our little walk. And we want to thank you all for coming out. Our next speaker and final coming to the stage needs nearly no introduction. He's been all over the place supporting this cause. Mr. Gabriel Brown.
Yeah, Gabriel.
I'd like to thank you all for being here at this free speech rally in Boston. My name is Gabriel Brown. Apparently I'm very infamous. Why? Because I believe in free speech. And I stand to the free speech of the people here. If you don't know who I am, Antifa has put out an article recently to slander my name and imply I'm a terrorist. They imply I'm a neo-Nazi and everything under the sun you can imagine. I am none of those things. I am for freedom of speech. I am for people having the right to live a happy life, regardless of who they are. I've been a long-time activist who's been involved with many movements on the left and right, whether it was 9/11 Truth and the Federal Reserve. I was involved with Occupy Wall Street. I was involved with the Tea Party movement. I've gone after the Bilderberg Group. I've gone after pedophiles. I've gone after things standing for justice. I stood for justice. And when I see across us, I see these people over there. Who are these people? I'll tell you who they are. Many of them are ignorant and don't actually know what they are doing. And what do I mean by that? Many of them serve the foundations, the tax-exempt foundations like the Ford Foundation, the Southern Poverty Law Center, George Soros. They're pawns, and they're useful idiots that have no idea how they're serving the system. Think about it, the mayor of this city, what has he done? He's instigated and riled up the emotions of those people standing there who believe everyone here is a Nazi, which is untrue. They believe this lie that was fed to them by the establishment, and now they're irrationally and sporadically going out ready for a fight, and they don't even understand why. You honestly believe there are real Nazis here? Have you ever actually met a real Nazi? Have you ever met a fascist? Can you define fascism? I highly doubt it. But your behavior is characteristic of fascism. And you're serving the mayor of this city to shut down any kind of oppositional point of view that he doesn't approve of. That's why we have police barriers here. That's why police are being used against their will. You are pawns for a larger game. You serve the interests of the ruling class. I came here and standing in defense of freedom. I became aware of your movement in 2013 when you had attacked me for standing up for free speech. Because I believe in freedom for all people. I don't care what your color is. I don't care what your religion is. I care about your freedoms. And you attacked me because I called myself a national anarchist. I believe in the fundamental principles of what this country stood for. In many ways, I'm a classical liberal, I'm a libertarian, I'm a civic nationalist, I'm an anarchist, because that's what the spirit and the essence of what this country was founded upon. And everything the Bill of Rights stands for. That is far more compatible with anarchism than what Antifa stands for. Antifa historically has always been a Marxist movement. It was founded in 1932 by the German Communist Party as a Trotskyist movement. And it always has been that way. And they've allowed some anarchists to come in their circles, but they've always been a communist movement, a state Marxist movement. And you know what? They joined the Nazi Party when Hitler took power because they had similar principles. They came back in the 1980s to attack people who were for Britain first. And now they're here in the United States in the early 2000s. And they kind of slowly, gradually grew to the point where people are finally seeing them out in the streets. I dealt with them in 2013. They violently attacked me and attempted to kill me. I stood my ground as best I could, and I've been warning people for years about Antifa and its potential violence. And its anti-intellectual liberty and its anti-First Amendment positions. People didn't take it serious because they thought these kids, they're not going to go out and do anything. Well, they proved they're very capable of doing things and how dangerous they are when they went out in the inauguration of this year and smashed windows in their own, very own Kristallnacht. The very thing that the Nazis did. They smashed up buildings and attacked people, and I'm glad to stand here to this day to see these patriots finally knowing what Antifa is after I've spent years trying to bring awakening. And we need to stand for intellectual liberty and not allow the ruling class to dictate our future and to use us as pawns. They're just pawns. We need to go after the ruling class who financially sponsor them. I thank you all for your time and listening to what I've had to say. Thank you.